I'm Eddie Muller, here with this year's final installment of Noir Alley. I've decided to end 2024 on a traditional note, showing the most financially successful noir of the post-war era. The Postman Always Rings Twice, made at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1946. The war was over, co-stars Lana Turner and John Garfield were at the height of their popularity, and the baby boom was ready to explode. Enough guys took their dates to this movie to make it the fourth highest grossing picture of the year, behind Song of the South, The Best Years of Our Lives, and Duel in the Sun. It was quite the payoff for MGM, considering it took the studio 12 years to get it up on the screen. James M. Cain wrote this slim, incendiary tale of love and murder in 1934, at the height of the Depression. And it was truly of its time, about a man and woman caught up in a whirlwind of emotional and economic desperation. It is the seminal work of noir fiction, the cauldron from which virtually every subsequent noir thriller flowed. But 1934 was also the year Hollywood reinforced its production code, prohibiting the on-screen depiction of everything that made Cain's book a runaway bestseller. So despite having immediately snapped up the film rights, MGM, the most tasteful and cautious of studios, left Cain's book on the shelf. The first screen version of the story would actually be made in France, 1939's Le Dernier Tournant, or The Last Turning. It was relatively faithful, but was tailored as a vehicle for its biggest star, Michel Simon, who played the cuckolded husband. The next version was made in Italy, the debut work of director Luchino Visconti. 1943's Ossessione was a looser and earthier take on the story, one that moved its Depression-era California setting to Italy's Po Valley during Mussolini's regime. It is a landmark, using the definitive noir story as narrative for the cinema's first example of neorealism. Mussolini and the Catholic Church were so outraged by it, they tried to destroy all the prints. Meanwhile, MGM blocked it from being distributed in the US. Not surprising, given Visconti had never bothered to buy the rights to Cain's book. Ossessione wouldn't be seen in this country until 1976, in prints made from the sole surviving copy, which Visconti had hidden from the fascist under the floorboards in his home. MGM finally worked up the nerve to produce Postman after seeing the success Paramount and Warner Brothers had enjoyed with adaptations of two other Cain novels, Double Indemnity and Mildred Pierce. To appease studio chief Louis B. Mayer, who hated anything unwholesome, producer Carrie Wilson and screenwriters Niven Bush and Harry Ruskin sanitized the story as much as they could, while director Tay Garnett and costume designer Irene Lentz provided a glamorous sheen that felt nothing like Cain's down and dirty novella. John Garfield was significantly older than the book's 20-something-year-old protagonist, and Lana Turner, every inch of her radiating movie star, was a far cry from Cain's Cora, a slattern who thinks illicit passion will enliven her dead-end existence. MGM's marketing team aimed the picture at women, selling it as a romance, not a murder story. It was a shrewd gambit as American moviegoers queued up at theaters around the country to see if The Postman would deliver. Now check out these photos of the huge crowds at the Capitol Theater in New York on a cool day in May 1946, the glory days of American moviegoing. These were sent to me by loyal TCM viewer Lou Valentino, a close friend of Robert Osborne. In fact, these pictures are from Bob's personal collection. Lou was 8 years old when his dad took him to see The Postman Always Rings Twice at the Capitol. He told me that Lana Turner, his first movie star crush, was the gal who convinced me that boys and girls were built differently. I can't provide a performance during intermission by Guy Lombardo and the Royal Canadians, but I can offer you, uncut and commercial-free, the most influential and popular noir story of them all. The postman always rings twice.